Charlotte, you are being ridiculous. One is not rendered ridiculous by simply having a different opinion from your own. Elizabeth rolled her eyes at Charlotte's smug opinion. She sat across from her friend in the parsonage's small parlour, drinking tea and discussing the previous evening at Rosings. One may not be rendered ridiculous by a difference of opinion, but one is certainly rendered ridiculous by belief in the absurd. Elizabeth raised a brow triumphantly and sipped her tea. Only you would be proud of believing a man in love with you to be an absurd notion. Elizabeth's mouth dropped open, and she set her teacup down with a clank. Charlotte resettled herself in her chair, looking every bit the proud matron. Do you think it will rain today? Charlotte looked out the window and stretched her neck to look up into the sky. Charlotte! I suppose not. It has been rather warm lately. Elizabeth sighed in frustration. Very well. I will take your change of subject as a signal that you recognise the absurdity of your assumption and move on. How is Mrs. Selton? Is she feeling any better? Charlotte turned to face her friend. Eliza, I know we may joke about it, but as your friend, I cannot allow you to continue to believe that a man being interested in you romantically is a ridiculous notion. That is ridiculous. It is not that I think a man finding me attractive to be impossible, but this man in particular. And why is that? He said himself I am merely tolerable. And can a person not grow in attractiveness once one knows them better? Elizabeth looked frustrated. Of course, but that is not the case here. Is it not? How can you know that? Because it is not. Charlotte took a deep breath. What did you say the first day you met Colonel Fitzwilliam? Elizabeth was thrown by the change of topic, but recovered and said, I thought him friendly and amiable. And handsome? Elizabeth opened her mouth to respond, then snapped it shut. Well, not at first. When he left the parsonage, Maria said he was good company, but it was a shame he was not in a red coat, for it would improve his looks immensely. Elizabeth stared silently at her friend. And you agreed with her? I was being silly. I should have held my tongue had I known you would throw it back at me this way. And how do you find the Colonel's looks now? Elizabeth was thrown again by Charlotte's question. He is perfectly agreeable. Do you find him attractive? Elizabeth coloured. Well, he is... She paused and looked away, shaking her head and pursing her lips. Yes, I find him attractive. And if he offered to court you tomorrow, you would accept? Elizabeth huffed. Or would you decline on the grounds of him being unattractive? Of course not. What a ridiculous reason. A person cannot help their looks. Charlotte levelled a piercing look at her friend. Exactly. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. It is hardly the same thing. Is it not? Men care much more about these things than women do. Do they? Yes. Then how is it I am married and Jane is not? Elizabeth gasped and looked at Charlotte with shock and offence. If beauty alone were the deciding factor in marriage, Jane would have wed years ago. And if beauty alone were the deciding factor in spinsterhood, I would still be one. What does this have to do with Mr. Darcy? So he found you tolerable. What of it? That was months ago. He has now come to know you better. It is entirely possible he now finds you attractive, much how you have changed in your opinion of Colonel Fitzwilliam's looks. I am certainly prettier than the Colonel, she grumbled. Charlotte smiled. That you are. So, you see, Mr. Darcy could very well be in love with you. Elizabeth rolled her eyes again. Charlotte, you have taken up an idea and run wild with it.